What's up, environmental science scholars? Today we're going to be creating a fun poster featuring you and a designated mineral, and we're going to apply the magnetic lasso. We're going to be downloading and installing some really cool fonts, producing something like this. Here we've got Isabel, we've got Limestone. Where do we start? Well, we know that we've got the criteria set forth in Google Classroom where you need to identify the mineral, the chemical composition, the source, etc. Next, you're going to have to find your photo. And so we've got this cool web album. We're going to use Amanda for this example, but there's a photo of you somewhere in here that I'm sure is pretty compelling. So we'll use, I like this one. Let's do this one right here. To download it correctly, we're going to click on the three vertical dots in the upper right hand corner. We're going to left click download. Tremendous. And we're going to need to get the mineral. And we're going to use dolomite for this example. We're going to do a quick image search. I'm going to select Save Image As, and we're going to click Save. Alright, and so I can see that it's been saved. We're going to start off with the blank, which we'll find in Google Classroom. To open all these images when you download them, after you download them, you're going to click File, Open. You're going to open up that blank. We're going to open up that image of yourself, in this case, of course, of Amanda, and of our mineral. And here we've got this right here. So I've got tabs open at the top, and I'm going to jump from one to the other. And I recognize that we've got to start with superimposing yourself into this image. We're going to use something called the magnetic lasso. It takes a little bit of finesse, but what we're going to do is find it on the third tool down on the toolbar. We can see that we've got a number of options. We've got the lasso tool, the polygonal lasso, and the magnetic. If we start off with the lasso tool, and I left click, and I'm holding down on the mouse and I'm dragging and I'm trying to make a really nice selection, I can see that we've got little ants running along the perimeter of her body. If I press Command C and then go to the blank mineral image, if we press Command V, there she is. This isn't a tremendous selection, so we're going to press Command Option Z to undo that. We're going to return to this image, press Command D to deselect to start over. So I'm going to zoom in just a tad by pressing Command plus. I'm going to change the lasso from just the conventional lasso all the way to the magnetic lasso. And this is where the magic is going to happen. I'm going to click once, and now I'm simply dragging the tool along the edge of her body, her hair, and I can plant down these bounding boxes, right, where I want to put this selection. But it's not necessary all the time, because what we can do is where there's lots of contrast, it'll create the bounding box for us. So I'm going to go right here. Actually, you'll notice I made a little bit of a mistake. If we want to go back one bounding box, we press delete on the keyboard and it'll undo that bounding box. So I'm going to go along like so. Great, and we're just about done. This looks good, and I know a few things. I know that when we zoom in, I know that we did not get all of her hair. So what we're going to do is make sure that we're in the add to function at the top. You guys see that? We're going to want to make sure that's selected, and now we can continue adding to this selection. And if we switch to the elliptical marquee, it's right above it. Using the add to function, we can actually create a nice ellipse, and that looks much better. I'm actually going to subtract, and then we're going to add, and I know this is maybe a little bit tricky for some of us, but I'm confident that you guys can do this. I'm going to add a little bit more. We're almost done. Great. We're going to press Command C, Command V, and there she is. She looks pretty excited about her mineral, which we need to get right now. So we're going to jump to the dolomite layer. We're going to use the magnetic lasso, and I'm going to do a super quick job going along the edge. You guys are going to take your time and find something with greater precision than this. So you're going to bring it to the original bounding box. You're going to double click. We've got that selection. We're going to press Command C, Command V, and I can see that this is super big. We're going to press Command T to change the size of the layer. We're going to press and hold Shift, grab the corner, shrink it down. It's proportional. You guys got this. And I'm going to pull the mouse away and click just to rotate it a tad. And this is this looks like a good size right there. Great. So now what we need to do, of course, is add some information. How do we go about doing that? We're going to click the text tool right there, or simply press T. And I know that it's dolomite. I'm going to press Command A to highlight everything. I'm going to change the size to 72. I'm going to press check to confirm, and I want it even bigger than that, so I'm going to press Command T, hold Shift, and we want to extend it pretty much along the top. I'm not loving this font right now, but we're going to come back to that in a moment. What I also know is that we've got to add some information. So how do we do that? Let's go to this email draft I created, where I copied and pasted some relevant information that I got, I think, from geology.com. Yeah, there's some pretty fun stuff in here. We're going to return to Photoshop. I just copied and pasted, I'm sorry, I just copied that text. Before I paste it, with the text tool selected, I'm going to click and drag. I'm holding down, and you'll see that rectangle. This is a little container, so now when I press Command V and I paste it in, the text fits in here perfectly, but we don't want it at size 72, so I'm going to press Command A, and I'm going to change it to, let's make it size 10. And I can see that that's way too small. Let's try 14, and I think that's an appropriate size. I'm going to press check to confirm. I'm going to use the move tool, and I'm going to shift it up, and I think that looks great. We're going to return to that little that Gmail, that doc. I'm going to click and select rather that text. I'm going to press T, making sure that the text tool is selected. We've got this little container. I'm going to press Command V. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to click on Window, and then we're going to click on Character. And when you press Window and Character, what you'll find is that this window pops up, and it's behind. There it is. It's behind my layers palette. What you'll see is some pretty information. What we're going to do is we're going to change this text from regular to bold. You guys see that? Alternatively, you can click right here, and that's super bold. And we do not want the italics. It says faux italic. We're going to click that off. And what we're going to do is we're going to juxtapose the italicized text with this bolded text. And I'm going to click and drag. And one thing I think might be fun is having alternating indented text to indicate where one idea starts and another idea stops. You're going to produce something that looks a little bit like this. Now you might be thinking, how do we find this really cool font? Well, what we're going to do is go to defont.com, and I like to click on top, and let's say you have copper. What we can do is we can preview it, and you can find a font that really resonates with you, and I like to change it from 20 to 100 and press submit. And I really like to scroll through. What you'll do then is you'll download it, you'll double click it, unzip it, install it, and then you'll be good to go in Photoshop. You're going to make sure you put your name and the date. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm very much looking forward to your work.